The Galactic Council chamber glowed with cold light. Hundreds of alien delegates sat in high towers, their voices echoing in every corner. Screens stretched across the walls, carrying the same message to every world under their control. Earth has fallen, the Supreme Speaker announced, his voice deep and final. The Terran fleets are destroyed, their colonies scattered. Humanity is defeated. For a moment, silence filled the chamber. Then, laughter broke out. Some alien leaders clapped their claws. Others raised their wings in joy. To them, humanity was only a stubborn young species that had dared to stand against the galaxy's oldest powers. Now, at last, they believed that the Terrans were finished. News spread like fire. On distant worlds, alien civilians cheered in the streets. Merchants drank to the end of the human threat. Soldiers pounded their weapons on the ground, roaring in celebration. To them, Earth was nothing more than ashes in the dark. But not everyone was laughing. In the shadows of broken colonies, human survivors listened to the Council's broadcast with clenched jaws and wet eyes. On ruined stations, families huddled in silence as the words repeated again and again. Earth has fallen, humanity is no more. Yet far away in a hidden bunker, a single woman stood before a cracked screen. Commander Lyra Valen, once an officer of Earth's Navy, stared at the Council's announcement. The silver light flickered across her scarred face, but her eyes were steady. She whispered to herself, barely moving her lips. They think we're gone. Good. Behind her, younger soldiers shifted nervously. They were tired, hungry, beaten by years of war. One of them finally spoke. Commander, is it true? Did Earth really fall? Lyra turned slowly. Her voice was calm, but sharp like steel. Earth is never gone. Do you understand? Never. The soldier swallowed hard and nodded, though doubt remained in his eyes. Like so many others, he wanted to believe. But the galaxy's voice was loud and the truth was hidden in shadow. Meanwhile, in the high halls of the Galactic Council, victory feasts began. A tall insectoid delegate raised his glass, clicking his mandibles. At last, he hissed, the Terran problem is solved. No more defiance. No more human ships tearing through our fleets. Another alien, his skin glowing with shifting colors, replied with a laugh. Yes, they were strong, I admit, but too young, too reckless. Their fire is burned out. None of them noticed the human spy hidden among the servants, carrying trays of food. His hands shook, but his heart beat with pride. He had heard whispers, rumors of massive shapes stirring beyond the outer rim, rumors the Council ignored, rumors the humans prayed were true. Back in the ruins of a once proud colony, a boy clutched an old radio. The device crackled with static, but then, for a brief moment, a strange signal cut through. Not finished. Stand ready. The stars will shake again. The boy's eyes widened. He ran to his mother, shouting, Mama, they're still out there. The Terrans aren't gone. His mother pulled him close, tears streaming down her face. Don't give me false hope, child. But inside, her heart stirred. For the first time in years, she dared to imagine a future where Earth still had teeth. Commander Lyra stepped onto a small balcony overlooking the ruined bunker. Her soldiers gathered below, weary and broken, their uniforms torn. She raised her, voice so all could hear. The Council says we are defeated. They laugh at us, they celebrate. But they forget one thing. Her words echoed against the metal walls, every eye fixed on her. They forget what sleeps in the dark. A murmur rose through the soldiers. Confusion, fear, and something else. A spark. She continued, her voice stronger now. The galaxy thinks Earth is finished. Let them think it. But when the time comes, when the giants awaken, they will learn the truth. Humanity is not defeated. Humanity waits. Her soldiers stood, taller, shoulders straightening. For the first time in months, fire returned to their eyes. Far away on the edge of known space, alien scouts patrolled near the void. Their ships glided silently through the dark, sensors searching for scraps of Terran resistance. One pilot yawned, confident in victory. Then his radar lit up. Massive shadows moved across the stars. Too big for cruisers. Too slow for normal fleets. The pilot leaned forward, his voice trembling. This can't be. The signal cut out. Back in the council chamber, an aide rushed to the speaker, whispering frantically. The speaker waved him off with annoyance. Nonsense. Humanity is gone. Do not waste my time with ghost stories. But outside, in the silence of space, something vast stirred. The galaxy had given its verdict. Earth was gone. Humanity was dead. Yet in the shadows, whispers grew louder. Survivors held onto fragments of hope. Children dreamed of steel giants, hidden in the dark. Commanders spoke of waiting, not surrender. And somewhere beyond the stars, something enormous was waking. The galaxy laughed at Earth's funeral. But the stars themselves knew the truth. This was not the end. It was only the silence before the storm. The galaxy celebrated, but shadows had begun to move where no light reached. In the outer rim, far beyond the Council's patrols, wreckage floated in silence. Charred ships, broken stations, and drifting metal filled the void. Alien scavengers picked through the ruins, hunting for scrap and survivors. They expected nothing dangerous, only the weak remains of a dead species. But then, their signals began to vanish. One scavenger ship sent a short burst before disappearing. Giant silhouettes. Larger than... The message cut off. Another patrol went dark. Their last image showing something vast blocking out the stars. At first, the Council dismissed these reports. Static, sensor ghosts, human propaganda, they said. The galaxy laughed again. But whispers began to spread in hidden places among smugglers and mercenaries. A single phrase moved from mouth to mouth. The Dreadnoughts are waking. On a cold moon base, Commander Lyra Valan studied stolen data with her officers. The screen showed broken transmissions, shapes so large they dwarfed even the biggest alien battleships. One officer, his voice shaking, asked, "Commander, are they real, or just stories?" Lyra's eyes narrowed. "They are real. They were built for the day the galaxy thought us broken." The soldiers leaned forward. They had all heard the legends. Giant Terran Dreadnoughts, built in the shadows of old wars, hidden in deep vaults of space. But no one had ever seen one with their own eyes. Lyra tapped the screen, zooming in on the blurred images. They are not stories. They are promises. And soon, the galaxy will see them. On a desert world, a ragged human boy sat in a marketplace, listening to traders brag about humanity's end. A Zark merchant laughed loudly, clicking his teeth. The humans fought hard, yes, but they were only sparks. We crushed them, and now the stars belong to us again. The boy clenched his fists. He remembered his father's last words before, being taken away. Wait for the giant, son. Wait for the Terran steel. That night, the boy scratched into the sand a single word he had heard whispered among smugglers. Dreadnoughts. Meanwhile, alien admirals gathered in secret meetings. Reports of missing patrols worried them, though they refused to admit it publicly. One officer slammed his clawed hand against the table. "It is nonsense. Earth is ash. Their fleets are gone." But another officer, older and wiser, leaned forward, slowly. "And yet our scouts vanish. Our outposts go silent. Tell me, who else in this galaxy can do such things?" A heavy silence filled the room. None dared answer. In the void, a lone human ship limped through space. Its engines barely worked, its hull torn apart. Inside, Captain Joren sat bleeding at his console. His crew were gone, his ship broken, but before his eyes, the stars shifted. Something colossal moved in the dark. Not one, but many. Long shadows glided forward, slow and patient. Hulls larger than cities. Weapons bristling like mountains of steel. Joren's weak voice trembled as he opened a last transmission. "This is Captain Joren, to any who still fight. I have seen them. The Dreadnoughts. They are real." Static swallowed his voice. but the message was already racing across hidden channels. Survivors in bunkers heard it. Smugglers whispered it in back rooms. Children repeated it like a prayer. Back on the moon base, Lyra listened to the broadcast in silence. Her soldiers stared at her with wide eyes. "Then it's true," one whispered. "They live." Lyra stood, her face calm but her heart burning. "Yes, they live. And when they rise, the galaxy will remember why it should never have declared Earth defeated." The soldiers began to murmur, their despair turning into restless energy. For the first time since the fall, their hope felt like fire, but the council still denied it. From their shining towers, the speaker shouted across the stars, "Lies, myths, humanity cannot return. They are dead, and any who speak otherwise are enemies of peace." Yet his voice no longer carried the same weight. Too many ships had gone silent. Too many whispers filled the markets, the barracks, and the streets. And in the darkness of space, something massive turned its engines on for the first time in decades. On a ruined world, a little girl looked up at the night sky. Among the stars, she saw a faint shape, black against the light. Her eyes widened, and she tugged at her mother's hand. "Mama." "The stars are moving." Her mother looked up, and her breath caught. For a moment, the stars themselves seemed to vanish, swallowed by the silhouette of a ship so huge it defied belief. The galaxy believed Earth had fallen. The council declared victory, but across the void, the whispers grew louder, unstoppable, unshakable. The dreadnoughts are waking, and soon the stars would tremble. The first to see them clearly was an alien scout ship drifting near the edge of the Persid Rift. The pilot was bored, his claws tapping against the console. He expected silence, as always, but then his radar filled with light. His jaw froze. The screen showed shapes so massive that his own cruiser looked like a grain of sand beside them. Through the viewport, he saw it with his own eyes. Something black and endless sliding out of the shadows. Not one ship. Many. The pilot whispered, his voice breaking, "No, this cannot be." Before he could finish, his signal died. Across the galaxy, scattered human survivors picked up fragments of that last message. Static hissed, but one word was clear: giants. In bunkers, children repeated it. On ruined colonies, soldiers gripped their rifles tighter. Even smugglers passing through hidden trade routes spoke it in hushed tones. The dreadnoughts were no longer whispers. They were real. Commander Lyra stood at the balcony of the moon base, her officers gathered around her. The room glowed with weak lights, but the air was electric. An aide ran forward, eyes wide. "Commander, new signals. Massive energy surges detected in deep space, bigger than anything recorded before." The soldiers stared at her, waiting for her answer. Lyra's lips curved into the smallest of smiles. "They have returned." Far away, the first Terran Dreadnought broke through the void. Its hull stretched for kilometers, dark steel covered in scars of old wars. Whole cities could have rested upon its back. Glowing lines of power traced across its armor, alive like veins of fire. Behind it came another, and another. Soon, an entire fleet of giants moved as one, their shadows swallowing the stars. They did not rush. They did not need to. Their engines burned slow and deep, the soundless heartbeat of machines built to outlast empires. Alien fleets scrambled. Admirals screamed orders. Dozens of warships rushed to intercept the dark shapes, firing before they were even in range. Missiles streaked across the void. Energy beams tore through the darkness. Explosions lit the silence. And yet, nothing touched them. The dreadnoughts advanced without pause. Their shields shimmered like walls of light, swallowing every strike. An alien captain shouted in horror, "They do not even fire back. They do not need to." Inside one of the dreadnoughts, a human captain stood in the command hall. His uniform was black, his voice steady. Around him, officers worked in silence, their faces calm but sharp. The captain's hand hovered above a single control. He waited. On the bridge wall, a screen showed alien fleets gathering, desperate and wild. Hundreds of ships against a handful of giants. Finally, the captain spoke. His voice echoed deep and cold. For Earth. He pressed the command. The dreadnoughts came alive. From their flanks opened vast weapon bays, glowing with power. Lances of white fire erupted, slicing through entire enemy squadrons. Energy beams brighter than suns crossed the void, cutting ships into fragments. Missiles the size of towers launched in swarms, tearing through the strongest shields like paper. In seconds, the alien fleets that had laughed at humanity were reduced to burning wrecks. The galaxy watched in silence. On distant worlds, civilians stared at their screens in disbelief. The Council had declared Earth defeated, yet here were ships that dwarfed entire armadas. A merchant dropped his glass, his voice shaking. No fleet should be this powerful. A soldier whispered. They were waiting. All this time they were waiting. In the council chamber, panic erupted. Delegates shouted, some demanding retreat, others demanding more fleets be sent. The Supreme Speaker pounded his staff, but his voice was drowned out by chaos. They should not exist, one alien leader cried. No species should build such monsters. But deep down, they all knew the truth. Humanity had built these ships long ago in secret for this very moment. Back on the moon base, Commander Lyra watched the battle feed with her soldiers. Explosions lit her scarred face, and her voice carried steady and sharp. The galaxy thought, us broken. They thought Earth had fallen. But the Terran Dreadnoughts do not fall, they rise. Her soldiers roared, their fear gone, their spirits alive again. For the first time in years, they felt victory within reach. In the void, as burning debris drifted like dying stars, the Dreadnoughts continued forward. Unstoppable, relentless, the aliens had seen the return of steel giants, and now the stars themselves trembled. The first battle had ended in fire, but the war was only beginning. Across the galaxy, systems shook with panic. Broadcasts from the destroyed fleets reached every world. Blurred images of burning ships, massive shadows, and voices screaming before the signal cut. On wealthy alien planets, civilians stared at the skies in fear. If those giants come here, they whispered, nothing will stop them. On the council world, the speaker slammed his staff again and again, demanding calm. But the chamber was chaos. Delegates shouted over one another, their voices full of terror. They should not exist, one cried. Send everything we have, demanded another. Hide our colonies, others begged. But there was nowhere to hide. In the darkness of space, the dreadnoughts advanced. Their black hulls reflected the light of nearby stars. Each ship moved like a mountain drifting forward, slow but unstoppable. Behind them, wreckage of alien fleets still burned, glowing like dying suns. Inside the lead dreadnought, Captain Arlen stood on the bridge. His face was calm, his voice low, but his eyes carried the weight of centuries. The council thought Earth was ash, he said. Let them learn how wrong they are. His officers nodded in silence. They had trained for this day all their lives, guarding the secret of these ships until the time was right. Now the time had come. Alien reinforcements gathered at the Nabrai line, one of the most fortified borders in the galaxy. Dozens of fleets stood ready, warships from every species, armed with the strongest weapons known. An alien admiral snarled as he saw the dreadnoughts appear on his sensors. Fire everything, break them before they cross. The void erupted. Tens of thousands of missiles streaked forward. Energy beams brighter than suns cut across the dark. Whole fleets unleashed their fury at once. For a moment the stars vanished in fire, but when the light cleared, the dreadnoughts still moved. Their shields blazed, shimmering walls of light bending and swallowing the fury of 1,000 ships. The alien admiral's eyes widened in horror. They withstood all of it, and then the Terrans answered. The first strike came from the dreadnought Iron Wrath. A single beam of pure energy ripped through 3 alien battleships, cutting them in half as though they were paper. The second came from Steel Horizon. Its missiles launched in swarms, each one a city-sized weapon, tearing apart enemy lines in explosions that shook the void. And then all the dreadnoughts fired together. The sky became a storm. White-fire lances crossed the darkness, carving fleets into fragments. Missiles roared, lighting the rift like a newborn star. Plasma cannons unleashed waves that melted whole squadrons in seconds. The alien fleets screamed, but they could not run. The dreadnoughts had surrounded them, their weapons locking down every path of escape. Within minutes, the Nibrai line, once the proud wall of the galaxy, was nothing but wreckage and silence. On the bridge of the Iron Wrath, Captain Arlen stood, unmoving as reports came in. Enemy fleets destroyed, survivors scattering. He nodded once. Good. Let them scatter. Let them carry the message. His voice was calm, but every officer knew the truth. The message would spread faster than any fleet. The galaxy would now know that Earth was not defeated. Earth was vengeance. Far away, survivors on ruined colonies wept when they heard the news. The dreadnoughts had broken the strongest fleets. Children shouted the word Terran in the Yao streets, their voices rising like a song. Commander Lyra listened in her bunker as the reports came through. Her soldiers roared in triumph, their fear gone at last. She raised her hand for silence. Remember this, she told them. The galaxy thought Earth weak. But weakness does not build giants. They will learn that every strike against us only made us stronger. The soldiers saluted her, their voices echoing. For Earth. In the council chamber, the speaker finally lost his calm. His voice cracked as he shouted, No empire can survive this storm. Humanity has become a monster, one we cannot control. One delegate whispered the fear that none wanted to say aloud. What if this is only the beginning? A silence fell, because in their hearts they all knew. The dreadnoughts were not built to defend. They were built to end wars. And so the galaxy trembled. Stars burned brighter as battles erupted. Colonies prayed. Fleets fled. The name of Earth, once mocked and cursed, was now spoken in fear. The dreadnoughts had returned, and the stars themselves shook at their fury. The galaxy had fallen silent. Where the Nibrai line once stood proud, there was only wreckage drifting like bones in the void. Burning metal lit the darkness, a graveyard of fleets that had dared to face Terran dreadnoughts. News spread faster than light. Every world, every colony, every station received the same impossible images, giant ships cutting through armadas, as if they were nothing, stars shaking under their fury. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy no longer laughed at humanity. It whispered. It trembled. On the council world, panic grew. Delegates hid in bunkers. Soldiers patrolled the streets, weapons ready, though none believed they could stop what was coming. In the high chamber, the Supreme Speaker's voice cracked as he shouted at his trembling aides. Where are they now? Where do the Terrans move? An aide stammered. We cannot track them, Speaker. They move through the void like shadows. They appear where they wish, strike and vanish again. The speaker gripped his staff so hard that cracks formed in the wood. They will not stop. They will not forgive. Far away, in hidden bunkers and shattered colonies, survivors raised their heads for the first time in years. Hope returned like fire in their veins. Children who had grown up knowing. Only fear now cheered when they saw the word Earth written on broken walls. Families repeated a new chant, soft but steady. We are not defeated. We rise. Commander Lyra stood before her soldiers, her uniform torn, but her voice unbroken. She showed them a broadcast. A Terran dreadnought drifting above a ruined alien fleet, its shadow covering entire cities. The soldiers stared in awe. Some wept openly. Lyra's voice rang out. They called us extinct. They called us ash. But listen now. The stars themselves speak our name again. Her troops roared as one. Earth! The walls shook with their voices. Inside the dreadnought Iron Wrath, Captain Arlen listened to the galaxy's chatter. Alien voices screamed across open channels. Some begged for mercy, others demanded surrender. A few tried to rally fleets, but their words carried no strength. Arlen closed his eyes for a moment. He could still see Earth, burning in his memory. The cities destroyed, the voices silenced, the soil scorched. His hand clenched into a fist. He opened his eyes and spoke. His voice broadcast through encrypted channels across the galaxy. This is Captain Arlen of the Terran Dreadnought fleet. To all who listen, Earth still stands. Humanity still fights. We are not broken. We are the storm. The message carried like thunder. On alien worlds, civilians fell silent, their faces pale. On human colonies, cheers shook the air. Even in the deepest corners of space, smugglers and spies whispered the words again and again. Earth still stands. The Supreme Speaker heard the broadcast in his private chamber. His hands trembled as the words echoed. They should not have survived. They should not have survived. He knew the truth now. No matter how many fleets the Council sent, no matter how many systems they sacrificed, nothing could erase humanity. The Dreadnoughts were more than ships. They were vengeance forged in steel, and vengeance had no end. On a ruined colony, a boy stood on the roof of a broken home, staring at the night sky. He pointed upward, eyes wide. "Mama, look." His mother turned. Above them, a shape moved across the stars. A Terran Dreadnought passed silently overhead, its hull glowing with faint lights, a giant among the void. The mother fell to her knees, tears running down her face. "They came back," she whispered. "They came back for us." The boy raised, his fist to the sky. "For Earth!" he shouted, his voice small but strong. Others heard him. They repeated it. Soon the whole colony was shouting together, their voices carrying across the ruins like a song of survival. But in the darkness, the captains of the Dreadnought fleet knew this was only the beginning. The Council would not surrender so easily. New weapons would be built, new wars would rise, and humanity was ready. Captain Arlen turned to his officers, his face as hard as steel. The galaxy thought we were finished. Now they will learn we are endless. He raised his hand, and the order was given. The Dreadnoughts changed course, engines roaring, their shadows stretching across the void. The galaxy had declared Earth defeated. The galaxy had mocked humanity's fall. But now, the galaxy would never forget the truth. The Terran Dreadnoughts had returned, and Earth's name echoed again, louder than war drums, heavier than silence, sharper than fear. The stars themselves trembled, waiting for what came next.